So parts of China are starting to deal with a resurgence of COVID-19. Border cities in the northeastern part of the country are tightening restrictions again to deal with new cases. The rules include limiting public gathering and clamping down on travel. The resurgence of the virus is adding to China's woes as Beijing struggles to turn around a slowing economy. So for more on China's slumping economy, I want to bring in Ramy Inocencio. So, Ramy, this is, I think, kind of surprising for me, who's just a casual watcher of these sorts of things, because China was kind of the first to emerge from the pandemic when you look around the world. As China was just coming out of it, there were several countries who were just sort of spiking, and so it seemed like China was poised to take advantage, to reopen their factories and start doing business again. And in fact, the economy was soaring. So why are we seeing a slump now?
Sure, Anne-Marie, you're absolutely right. China came back roaring in large part because consumers around the world were stuck at home and they had a lot of financial assistance, for example, in the United States. And they said, hey, we want to buy a lot of things because we can't go anywhere. So they bought things like washers, dryers, home improvement things. But you're right. In this most recent quarter that we just came out of, the third quarter, China's GDP growth was only 4.9%. Now, to put that into perspective, the second quarter was 7.9% growth. And if you're not following economics, let me just say that people get nervous when there's a difference of 0.5% and 1%, but we're talking 3 percentage points here, and this is massive. And in large part, at least the American Chamber of Commerce in Shanghai, the president told me that this is of Beijing's own doing, in large part because of these rolling power cuts that have been happening really over the past 2-3 months, ever since the summer. We've been talking about it here at CBS News, and basically what's happening is that China's coal production has been cut. Now, this is because Beijing has actually tried to do a good thing. It's tried to stop or to curb its greenhouse gas emissions, but the end result of this is that there just isn't enough power, and so people are getting laid off from factories. And guess what? When you don't have a job, you actually don't want to buy things, right? And that's what's hurting the consumption aspect for China. One other thing is the property market. It takes up about maybe 20, 25, 30%, depending on who you talk to, in terms of China's GDP growth. Evergrande is China's second largest real estate developer. And right now, we've been on basically kind of death watch for this company. Will it or won't it implode? Some people are saying it's sort of like the Lehman Brothers of 2008 in the United States. So far, it is still alive, but it keeps on kicking the can down the road in terms of these debt payments. And once it defaults, if it defaults, then a lot of people are saying that it might spell doom for a lot of Chinese consumers who have bought homes across the country. 800 developments, millions of Chinese people who have bought these homes, and they're not sure if they can actually get any of their money back, or even if they can get delivery of their homes. And if you see one massive real estate developer fold, basically, then you might think, okay, what's going to happen to my home? I should probably hold back and not buy a home. So that's a second kind of drag on the economy.
Yeah, and in fact, Evergrande is sort of a big player in real estate, but there are other kind of companies connected to real estate that are also showing cracks. Is there an indication that there is a major problem with real estate in China?
Sure. In terms of the domino effect, I guess, that you're alluding to, there are the suppliers, for example, the construction companies. If the homes stop getting built, then the industrials, the construction companies, they will obviously stop working. People will also be laid off there. And in addition, the people who are out of money, if they don't get their money back, then they will be very hesitant to try to invest in something new. The headquarters of Evergrande is actually just not too far from where I am here in Hong Kong, just across the border in mainland China, in Shenzhen. And over the past month or so, when we first heard about the potential bankruptcy of Evergrande, there were mass protests outside this skyscraper. People were yelling at executives who obviously were not in front of them, but they were in the lobby saying, give me back my money. People were saying they've lost it all because they've invested in the hopes and the dreams of, there's the American dream, but there's also the China dream of having your own home, having something stable. over the past few years, China, up until recently, has had massive growth, and people have been riding on hopes that the middle economy will grow even bigger and they will be super stable. But right now, as we're talking about this, the growth forecast for China has actually been lowered going into 2022, and that's also having a knock effect for the United States, because you can't have one without the other, and also with the global economy.
Yeah, so we've been talking about, factors that are happening within China. But here, what we have been talking about a lot is the supply chain. And I can only imagine that that's also having an impact on, Chinese companies' ability to sell their products to us. Like now I've realized that if I'm ordering something online and it looks like it's coming from China, well, I'm going to add like another 4 weeks onto the delivery because they're just not coming. So I'm wondering if, the hiccups and problems with the supply chain here in the U.S., if that's having an impact on the Chinese economy, and if maybe, former President Trump's sanctions, if we're finally seeing sort of the fallout from that as well.
Yeah, for people watching, thinking about the holiday season, gift buying, people here in China are saying that if products are not on the ships or getting out of factories right now, literally right this instant, then they might not make it in time to hit the shelves in the United States in time for Christmas. They're saying that if you want to buy decorations, buy them now if you see them. And importantly, if you're in the mood for technology, I mean, who isn't really, right? The new iPhone or something, or any kind of toys made in China, as you talk about, if you see them now, basically get them. That was a quote from the American Chamber when I spoke to the president last week. Talking about supply chain, though, when it comes to China and the United States, it just really depends on what you want to buy. It's interesting because when we talk about the power cuts in China, they are a world away. But then when you see the domino effect, power cuts, factories close, or factories having their assembly lines interrupted, all these 1 week, 1 day intermittent issues have this butterfly effect that we don't think about. In addition to that, there were container ships just outside here, outside of the harbor here in Hong Kong, waiting to try to get loaded up with goods. But interestingly, one thing we haven't talked about yet is that while COVID is very much under control officially in China, the fact that workers have to quarantine for 3 weeks after they work on those container ships for 2 weeks makes people not want to work as employees on those ships. So we're seeing this lack of staff to try to even get goods onto those ships, let alone container ships hanging out at the port of Long Beach on the West Coast there. People aren't able to get those goods and packages off on that side. So it's a double whammy, triple whammy, really, if you want to look at the power supply aspect. And back to my original point, if you see something that you want to buy now, buy it now.
That is the bottom line. Ramy, thank you. That there's a lot going on, and you covered everything. Thank you very much, Ramy.
You bet.